They said my dog violated community standards. Can you believe that? A golden retriever, too friendly for their rules. At first, I thought it was a joke. Until the HOA president showed up, clipboard in hand, fake smile on her face. That's when I saw it. A warning letter taped right to my front door. And from that moment, I knew. They weren't just after me. They were after my dog. Hey guys, welcome back to HOA Stories. I'm Mike, a regular guy, homeowner, and proud dog dad. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Texas. At least, it used to be quiet. Until the HOA started acting like the FBI of front lawns. If you hate HOA drama as much as I do, hit that subscribe button right now. And drop a HOA thumbs down in the comments to show them we're not afraid. And hey, share this with any friend who's ever had to fight their HOA. Because this one gets wild. It started on a Tuesday morning. Sunlight hit my porch just right. And my golden retriever, Max, was lying there like he owned the place. Tail wagging, tongue out, living his best life. I opened my front door to grab the newspaper. And there it was. A bright yellow envelope, taped right to the glass. Big, bold letters across the top. Notice of violation. At first, I laughed. I mean, what could I possibly have done wrong? But when I read the fine print, my heart sank. Pet behavior disturbing the peace of the community. Failure to comply may result in fine or pet removal proceedings. Pet removal. They really wrote that. I stood there frozen, reading it over and over. Max looked up at me with those golden eyes, wagging his tail. He didn't know that someone was trying to take him away. That's when I saw her. Mrs. Caroline Briggs, the HOA president, marching down the sidewalk in her usual power suit, clutching her clipboard like it was a weapon. I called out, "Caroline, what the hell is this?" She smiled that tight, smug smile. "Oh, Mike, we've had complaints about your dog's barking," she said. "But he's always barking when you're not home, so maybe you don't notice." "Yeah, right." Max barely barked. He was lazy. His biggest crime was snoring too loud. "I've got cameras," I told her. "Really?" she said. "Well, I hope you're not recording without HOA consent. That would be a policy violation too." That was the moment I realized what kind of game they were playing. Control. Intimidation. Paper rules used like weapons. I looked at her straight in the eye and said, "You try to take my dog, and you'll see what happens." She smirked. "Just following procedure," she said, and walked away. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak, every bark from the distance made me jump. I went outside, turned on the porch light, and looked around. That's when I saw it, a small black car parked across the street. Headlights off. Someone inside, watching my house. At first, I thought I was imagining things. But when I came closer, the car drove off slowly, no license plate visible. Something wasn't right. So I decided to do what any smart homeowner would do. I installed cameras. One by the porch light, one by the mailbox, and one facing the street. If the HOA wanted to play detective, they were about to find out they weren't the only ones recording. The next morning, another letter. Same yellow paper, same font, but this one had a new twist. Evidence of non-compliance documented. Further action pending HOA review. What evidence? I hadn't done anything. So I pulled up my footage. And what I saw made my blood boil. At 2:13 a.m., someone walked into my yard. A figure in dark clothes. Face covered. They stopped near the fence. And then Max started barking. Not aggressive, just alert. The person pointed a flashlight at my camera and walked away. They were trying to bait him. Trying to make him bark so they could file another complaint. I sat there in disbelief. This wasn't about noise. This was about control. So I printed the footage, burned it to a USB, and waited. Because if they wanted war, they were about to get one. And right before I left for work the next morning, I saw Mrs. Briggs again, smiling like she already won. I waved at her. and said calmly, "Hey Caroline, nice outfit. You might want to fix your hair though, the cameras caught you last night." Her smile dropped instantly. That's when I knew. She didn't expect me to have proof. This wasn't over. Not even close. If your HOA tried taking your dog like this, would you stay calm or fight back? Tell me below. I'm reading every comment, backhand index pointing down. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table, coffee in hand, laptop open, Max lying beside my feet, tail twitching in his sleep. I replayed the footage again and again. That shadow, that flashlight, the way the figure turned toward my porch camera. Like they knew exactly where it was. There was no mistaking it. This wasn't some random neighbor walking their dog. This was planned. And then, as the car pulled away, I caught a glimpse of something. A sticker on the rear bumper. HOA parking permit. Yeah. They sent one of their own. That realization hit me like a punch. These people were willing to sneak into my yard at night, just to get a dog in trouble. I couldn't let that slide. So I called the HOA office. The same one that always put you on hold for 40 minutes and played elevator music loud enough to make you lose your mind. HOA of Lakeside Estates, this is Amanda speaking, a voice finally answered. Hi Amanda, I said calmly. This is Mike Wilson, lot number 34. I need to talk to your president. Urgently. There was a pause. Oh. Mrs. Briggs is in a meeting right now, she said. Would you like to leave a message? I smiled to myself. Sure, I said. Tell her the guy whose dog she's trying to steal just caught her team trespassing on his property. Amanda froze. Excuse me? Yeah, I said. And don't worry. I've got everything on video. I hung up. For the next few hours, I waited. No call back. No apology. Nothing. But around 3 p.m., a white SUV slowed down in front of my house. Guess who stepped out? Mrs. Briggs herself. Looking like she'd just walked off a real estate ad, fake smile, oversized sunglasses, holding that cursed clipboard. She didn't even bother to knock. She just stood there on my driveway, staring straight into the camera mounted above my garage. I opened the door. Afternoon, Caroline, I said, sipping from my coffee mug. Quite the surprise visit. She gave a stiff little smile. Mike, I heard you've been recording HOA members, she said. That's a serious privacy issue. Funny, I said. Because last time I checked, sneaking into someone's yard at 2 a.m. is also a serious issue. Her smile cracked a little. I'm sure there's been some misunderstanding, she said. Maybe it was a contractor. I cut her off. Contractors don't drive HOA-issued cars. She froze. Her face tightened. And for a second I saw it, that flash of panic in her eyes. The kind you can't fake. Look, Mike, she said, lowering her voice. We just want to make sure everyone follows the same rules. So the rule is, you can trespass at night? Asked. She hesitated, then said quietly, you should be careful with accusations like that. The HOA has ways of handling non-compliance. Non-compliance, I repeated. Is that what you call owning a dog now? She didn't answer, just turned around and walked back to her SUV. But this time, I didn't stop her, because my cameras were rolling. Every single second. That night, I uploaded the clips from both nights into a single file. Titled it, Caught on HOA Camera. I made 3 backup copies. One on my external hard drive, one in the cloud, and one on a flash drive I kept in my truck. Something told me I might need it. Around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You're making things harder than they need to be. Maybe it's time to reconsider having pets in this community. No name, no signature, just that line. My stomach sank. I stepped out to the porch, scanning the street. Nothing. Just the sound of sprinklers and crickets under the streetlights. But when I looked at the camera feed on my phone, someone had left something by my gate. I walked closer. It was a small, plain envelope. No stamp, no address. Inside, a printed page. A fine notice for disturbance violation number 2. Dated for tomorrow. They'd already decided the verdict before the day even started. The next morning, I showed the footage to my next-door neighbor, James. He'd lived there longer than anyone. Old-school guy. Didn't like drama, but hated injustice more. He watched the footage silently, then leaned back in his chair. "Damn," he said finally. "They've been pulling this crap for years." "What do you mean?" asked. "Last summer, they made the Johnsons rehome their cat. Said it was roaming freely. The cat was 13 years old and half blind." I shook my head. "So it's not just me." "Nope," he said. "But you're the first one who's got proof." James leaned in and whispered, "You should show that video at the next HOA meeting." Now that was an idea. The meeting was scheduled for Friday evening. I walked in with my laptop under my arm. Half the neighborhood was there. Folding chairs, stale donuts, that one guy who always complains about lawn color. Caroline sat at the front, all smiles. "Welcome, everyone," she said into the mic. "We'll begin with community updates and—" "Actually," I interrupted, "I have something the community might want to see first." All eyes turned to me. I walked up, plugged my laptop into the projector, and hit play. The footage filled the screen. First clip, the shadowy figure entering my yard. Second clip, the same figure shining a flashlight toward the camera. Third clip, Caroline's car parked down the block that same night. Gasps filled the room. Caroline tried to speak. "This is highly inappropriate." But the crowd wasn't buying it. Neighbors whispered, muttered. Someone shouted, "That's her car." I turned to her and said, "You accused my dog of being a nuisance. Turns out, the real nuisance was you." Her face turned red, then pale. For the first time, she didn't have her clipboard armor to hide behind. By the time the meeting ended, the board announced an internal review. But everyone knew what that meant. Cover-up mode. Still, something shifted that night. Neighbors who'd avoided me for weeks came up to shake my hand. One guy even said, "Finally someone stood up to her." As I walked home, I looked at Max sitting on the porch. Tail wagging, eyes bright. He didn't understand any of it. But he didn't have to. Because now, he was safe. At least for now. But deep down, I knew Caroline wasn't done. People like her never are. And when I got home, a new letter was already waiting in my mailbox. This time, it wasn't yellow. It was red. If your HOA president got caught like this, would you expose them publicly or handle it quietly? Tell me in the comments. Backhand index pointing down. I want to see how savage you'd go. Smiling face with sunglasses. I stood there on my porch, staring at that red envelope. The paper was heavier than usual. It wasn't the thin, crinkly kind they used for normal warnings. This one was thick. Serious. Max sat beside me, ears up, tail still. Even he could feel something was off. I took a deep breath, tore it open, and started reading. Final notice. Pet removal proceeding. For a second, I couldn't breathe. It said I had 48 hours to remove my dog from the property, or the HOA would contact local animal control for a mandatory retrieval. Retrieval. Like my best friend was some kind of object they could repossess. I felt my hands shake. My vision went blurry for a moment. Then something in me flipped, from fear to fire. They wanted a fight? They were about to get one. I grabbed my phone, hit record, and started filming right there on my porch. "Day 5, I said into the camera. "The HOA just issued a final notice to take my dog. I have 48 hours. Let's see how this plays out." Then I showed the letter. Every line, every threat. I uploaded the clip to a private folder and set it to auto-upload in case something happened to me or my footage. Because honestly, at that point, nothing felt safe anymore. That evening, I went over to James's house, my neighbor. He was sitting in his garage, working on his old Chevy. I handed him the letter. He read it once, twice, and just shook his head. "They can't do that," he said. "There's no clause for pet removal unless it's a safety issue." "Exactly," I said. "Max never hurt anyone. He barely even barks." James looked around, then leaned closer. "You know what this is? Retaliation. You embarrassed her at that meeting." I nodded. "I'm not backing down." He smiled. "That's the spirit. You know what we should do." "What?" "Beat them at their own game." That night, we set up more cameras. One facing the street, another covering the gate, and a small one hidden inside my porch light, angled perfectly toward the sidewalk. James had a spare from when his tools got stolen years ago. "This one's motion-activated," he said. "Catches everything." I smiled. Perfect. By midnight, my place looked like a low-budget security bunker. But at least I'd know what was happening. Then, right around 2:30 a.m., the motion alert buzzed on my phone. Someone was out there again. I opened the live feed, and my heart started pounding. It wasn't just one person this time. It was two. Both wearing dark hoodies. Both standing by my mailbox. One of them pulled something out of their pocket, a spray bottle, and started misting it along my fence line. "What the hell?" I whispered. I zoomed in. It wasn't paint. It looked like some kind of liquid. They sprayed it, then took photos of Max barking through the window. They were provoking him again. I watched in disbelief as they took turns, spraying, snapping photos, walking back, whispering. Then they walked off, toward Caroline's house. I sat there frozen, trying to process what I just saw. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was entrapment. Next morning, I printed screenshots from the footage and went straight to the police station. The officer at the front desk was polite but skeptical. "You're saying HOA members came onto your property and sprayed something?" "Yes," I said firmly. "And I have it all on video." He leaned forward. "Well, trespassing's a civil matter unless there's damage or threat involved," he said. "But, if you think they're using chemicals to provoke your dog, that could be a health concern." He filed a report, gave me a case number, and told me to keep recording everything. So I did. When I got home, another surprise waited for me. Caroline was standing on my driveway again, clipboard in hand, smile tighter than ever. "Good morning, Mike," she said. "I see you're still recording everything." I smiled. "You bet I am." She stepped closer. "Well, you're making things unnecessarily difficult," she said. "We're just trying to maintain harmony in the neighborhood." "Harmony?" I laughed. "You sent people to my house at night to spray something by my fence." Her smile didn't even flicker. "I have no idea what you're talking about." I took a step forward. "Maybe you should come by later. I can show you the video." For the first time, she blinked. Her confidence cracked for half a second. Then she turned, muttered something like, "Talk to legal," and walked away. That evening, I decided to post a short clip online. Nothing crazy, just a 30-second snippet. Titled it, "When Your HOA Crosses the Line," literally. Within hours, it blew up. Hundreds of comments. People sharing their own HOA horror stories. Some even offering to help with legal support. But the next morning, I woke up to a new problem. My internet was down. No Wi-Fi, no connection. When I went outside to check the cable box, the wires were cut. Cleanly snipped. Coincidence? Yeah, right. I walked to the curb, looked down the street, and saw Caroline standing with two other board members, pointing toward my house, whispering. That's when I realized. They weren't just trying to take Max anymore. They were trying to break me. So, I decided to turn their own rules against them. I spent the rest of the day reading every single line of the HOA bylaws. It was like reading a Bible written by control freaks. But there it was, tucked under Section 4, Paragraph B. All HOA property access and enforcement actions must be documented with time-stamped evidence provided by at least 2 board members. I smiled, because I already had my time-stamped evidence of them breaking into my property. That night, I drafted a letter of my own, printed it on clean white paper, stamped it with today's date. To the Board of Lakeside Estates HOA. As per Section 4B of your own bylaws, I hereby file a formal complaint for unauthorized property access, harassment, and evidence tampering. Video footage and witness statements will be presented to legal counsel within 72 hours. Sincerely, Mike Wilson, lot number 34. I slid it under Caroline's door at midnight, right where she loved leaving all her petty violation notes for everyone else. The next morning, my phone rang. Unknown number again. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Mr. Wilson? Yes. This is Officer Barnes with the county police. I just reviewed the footage you submitted. We'd like you to come in tomorrow for a statement. Finally, someone was taking it seriously. As I hung up, I looked at Max. He tilted his head, tail wagging, completely unaware that his dad just declared war on the HOA. I scratched his ear and smiled. Don't worry, buddy, I whispered. They started this, but I'm gonna finish it. If someone messed with your dog like this, how far would you go to fight back? Would you play it smart, or go full revenge mode? Paw prints fire. Tell me in the comments, backhand index pointing down. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Couldn't sleep much anyway. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that red letter again. Max was already up, pacing around like he sensed something big was coming. I poured myself some coffee, grabbed my hard drive, and headed out to the police station. When I walked in, the officer from yesterday, Barnes, was waiting for me. He had that calm, professional tone. But I could tell he'd already seen the footage. "Morning, Mr. Wilson," he said. "Have a seat." I sat down across from him, handed over the drive. He clicked through the files, watching in silence. Finally, he looked up. "That's clearly private property," he said. "And that doesn't look like standard enforcement behavior." "So what happens now?" asked. He rubbed his chin. "Well, technically, we can open this as a criminal trespassing and harassment investigation. But since this involves a homeowners association, things can get complicated." "Complicated how?" "HOAs are civil entities," he said. "They've got their own legal protections. But if we can prove intent, or find who those people were, we can take it further." He paused. "Did you recognize either of the figures?" I hesitated. "Not for sure," I said. But they walked straight toward Caroline's house after. Barnes raised an eyebrow. "That's worth checking." He told me he'd reach out once they verified the plate numbers from the footage. And that was it. For the first time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, the system was on my side. When I got home, something felt off. The air was too still. Mailbox, empty. Porch, spotless. Almost too perfect. Then I noticed something different. The little HOA sign that used to sit at the end of the street, the one with the Community Standards slogan, was gone. Instead, a new banner stretched across the entrance. Lakeside Estates, a safe and peaceful community. The irony nearly made me laugh. That afternoon, my neighbor James knocked on my door. He looked serious. "Mike," he said, "you need to see this." He handed me a printed flyer. Across the top, in bold, "Notice of temporary suspension. HOA President." "What the hell is this?" asked. "They suspended Caroline," he said. "Apparently there's an internal investigation into her handling of homeowner disputes." I almost didn't believe it. Was this karma? Or another trick? James smirked. "You poked the bear, my friend. And looks like she finally got caught in her own trap." I couldn't help but grin. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. People like Caroline don't just disappear quietly. Later that evening, as I sat on my porch with Max, watching the sunset paint the street gold, I noticed a car parked a few houses down. Dark tinted windows. Engine off. Just sitting there. I stared at it for a while. Didn't move. Didn't blink. Then my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number again. "Enjoy your little victory. It won't last." I looked up at the car. Still there. Still silent. That's when I decided, no more playing defense. The next morning, I walked into the HOA office with my phone recording in my pocket. Amanda, the receptionist, looked startled to see me. "Oh, Mr. Wilson," she stammered. Mrs. Briggs isn't in today." "Good," I said. "I'm not here for her." I walked straight to the bulletin board behind the front desk, where they pinned all the violations for public shaming. Took out my phone, scrolled to the footage of Caroline's team trespassing, and hit play, right in front of everyone in the lobby. Half the room froze. A couple of other board members were there, mid-conversation. Their faces turned white as ghosts. One woman said, "Turn that off right now, you can't." "Oh, I can," I said. "And everyone's gonna see this. You think people like being watched? Try watching this." I left the video playing on loop and walked out. Didn't even look back. That afternoon, my neighbor James came over again. "You're trending, man," he said. "Your clip's all over social media." "What clip?" "The one you played in the lobby. Someone recorded you doing it." I opened my phone. Sure enough, it was everywhere. HOA president caught trespassing on homeowner property. 200K views in less than a day. People from all over the country were commenting. HOAs are out of control. Good for him, standing up. Protect that dog at all costs. For the first time in weeks, I actually smiled for real. But the celebration didn't last long. That night, I came home to find my front yard trashed. Someone had dumped a pile of garbage bags near my fence. Broken glass, old newspapers, even a few eggs smashed against the siding. Max barked non-stop. When I checked the cameras, the feed was blank. All 3 cameras offline. They'd cut the power to them. I knelt by the porch light where one camera was hidden. The wire was sliced clean through. Just like the internet cable. Whoever did it knew exactly where everything was. That's when it hit me. Only one person had seen my full camera setup. Amanda, the receptionist. She'd been nice. Quiet. Too quiet. The next morning, I went back to the police with new photos of the vandalism. Officer Barnes looked less patient this time. "All right," he said. "This is escalating. You said your footage was offline." "Yeah," I said. "Someone knew where every camera was." He sighed. "Mr. Wilson, I'll be honest. These people are either very organized, or they've got someone feeding them info." He looked me in the eye. "Keep backups somewhere safe. Somewhere they don't know about." I nodded. When I got home, I drove straight to James's house. Gave him a flash drive. "Keep this," I told him. "If anything happens, you post it." He took it, nodded. Didn't even ask questions. Because he knew. This wasn't just about a dog anymore. It was about control. That night, I sat on the porch with Max. Streetlights flickered. The air was still. I could feel eyes on me again. From where, I didn't know. But I wasn't scared this time. Because for the first time since this started, I had power too. They tried to take my dog. They tried to silence me. And now they were losing everything they built on fear and paperwork. Phil. As the crickets hummed and Max's tail thumped beside me, I saw movement, a shadow slipping between 2 houses. And I knew. The war wasn't over yet. If your HOA got exposed like this and started striking back, would you move out or stay and fight till the end? Drop your answer below, backhand index pointing down. The next few days felt quiet. Too quiet. No new letters. No suspicious cars. No late-night noises. But I've lived here long enough to know. Silence in this neighborhood means someone's plotting. Max stayed close, barely leaving my side. Every time the wind rustled the trees, he growled low. Like he could feel what I couldn't see. I decided if they wanted a war, I'd give them one. But on my terms this time. So I spent that week rebuilding everything. New security system, wireless, encrypted, offline backup, hidden lenses tucked behind porch lights, fake birdhouses, and even inside a garden gnome. If anyone so much as sneezed near my fence, I'd know. And then I made one more upgrade. A decoy. A fake camera hub in my garage. Just visible enough to make it look like that was the real setup. Let them find it. Let them think they'd won again. Because this time, I wanted them caught in the act. 3 nights later, it happened. It was around 2:40 a.m. A sound pulled me from sleep, faint but sharp. Metal tapping against glass. I crept to the front window. Saw 2 flashlights dancing near my fence line. Max growled. I whispered, "Stay quiet, boy," and hit record on my phone. The figures moved fast. Dressed in black. One was taller, the other shorter, carrying what looked like a crowbar. They went straight to the garage. I could feel my pulse in my throat. Every instinct screamed to run out there. But I waited. Let the cameras do their work. The taller one pointed at the fake hub. They both crouched, muttering something I couldn't hear. Then, smash. The crowbar came down. 1, 2, 3 hits. They ripped the cover off, pulled out the fake wires, and whispered, "That's it, it's done. Let's go before he wakes up." I almost laughed out loud. As they slipped out the side gate, I stepped onto the porch, quiet but deliberate. My porch light flicked on automatically. They froze. For half a second, I saw their faces clearly. And I couldn't believe it. It wasn't random people. It was Mark and Sandra, both HOA board members. The same ones who smiled at me every week during lawn inspections. Mark's face went pale. Sandra gasped, "Oh my God, Mike." I didn't say a word. Just held up my phone and said, "Smile. You're on camera again." They bolted into the dark. The next morning, I dropped the footage straight to Officer Barnes. He didn't even try to hide his reaction this time. "Jesus," he muttered. "That's them all right." "Think the HOA sent them?" asked. He sighed. "I think they are the HOA." He promised to move this up the chain, maybe even get a warrant to search the HOA office. That's when things started to shift. By noon, the whole neighborhood was buzzing. Someone leaked the news, the board members being investigated. People were whispering at the mailbox, posting on Facebook groups. And for once, everyone was on my side. One woman, Mrs. Denton, waved as I walked Max. "I always knew something was off about that board," she said. "They act like they own the whole street." I smiled politely. But inside, I was boiling. Because while they were gossiping, the real danger hadn't gone anywhere. That night, I got an email, anonymous sender. Subject line, "You think you won?" The message was short. "You're not safe here anymore. Sell the house before it's too late." No signature. No threat. Just a warning. I showed it to James. He read it twice and said, "You know what this sounds like?" "What?" "A setup. They want you to leave so they can say you abandoned the property. Then the HOA can seize it under maintenance default." I frowned. "Can they even do that?" He shrugged. "With the right paperwork, they can make anything look legal." That's when we decided to turn their own system against them. James used to work in IT. He knew how the HOA kept digital copies of all their violation records. Every email, every photo, every complaint filed. So one night, we sat in his garage. Laptop open, coffee mugs everywhere, adrenaline pumping. James cracked into their shared drive using a forgotten admin password. And what we found was gold. Emails between Caroline and other board members, discussing private enforcement tasks. Lists of homeowners marked as problems. And one folder labeled simply, dogs. Inside, photos of neighborhood pets. Notes like, unapproved breed, fence height violation. And next to my name, video evidence pending. That's when I knew. They had planned this from the start. We printed everything. Emails, screenshots, photos, all of it. Then we made one final move. I uploaded a clip to social media, not the full footage, just enough. A preview of the board members trespassing. With a caption, "They came for my dog. Then they came for me." But I recorded everything. Within hours, it exploded again. Half the town had seen it before dinner. The HOA held an emergency meeting the next morning. But this time, it wasn't just them behind closed doors. There were reporters outside, police cars parked at the curb, neighbors with phones out. When I walked past, Caroline finally showed up. She looked tired, angry, desperate. She hissed under her breath, "You think you're a hero, Mike? You just destroyed this community." I smiled. "No, I saved it." That night, my phone rang. It was Officer Barnes again. "We're moving forward with charges," he said. "Trespassing, property damage, possible conspiracy. You'll be contacted for statements soon." I exhaled. Finally, after weeks of chaos, it was over. Or so I thought. Later that evening, I noticed something on my porch. A small white envelope taped to the door. No return address. Inside was a single photo. Me and Max, taken from behind, walking down the street that morning. No message. No threat. Just proof that someone was still watching. I looked up and down the street. Lights flickering. Curtains shifting in windows. Somewhere out there. They weren't done with me yet. If you were in my place, and found proof your HOA had a secret list of problem homeowners, would you expose it publicly, or keep it for leverage? Comment below, backhand index pointing down. That night, I barely slept. Every sound outside felt like a warning. Every passing car made my heart race. Max curled up beside me, ears twitching at every creak. It was strange. For weeks, I'd been fighting to expose them. And now, even with the world watching, it felt like they were getting closer again. By sunrise, I made up my mind. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd go public, fully public. I spent the morning piecing everything together. Every video, every photo, every email we'd found on their drive. James helped me edit the clips, quick cuts, subtitles, even timestamps. We uploaded the whole thing as a mini documentary. HOA corruption exposed. They tried taking my dog. We hit upload at 9:12 a.m. By noon, it had 50,000 views. By 3 p.m., local news stations were calling. By evening, the story was on national television. They used my footage, blurred the faces, but everyone in the neighborhood already knew who it was. That's when things got weird. The HOA office shut down for renovations. The official Facebook page disappeared overnight. And the sign in front of Caroline's house, the one that used to say, HOA President, was gone. But 2 days later, a new one popped up on the community board. Interim HOA board appointed, effective immediately. President, Amanda Lopez. Amanda, the quiet receptionist who knew where my cameras were. The same one I suspected before. I just stared at the paper. This wasn't victory. This was evolution. They'd shed their skin and come back stronger. That evening, Amanda called me. Her voice was calm, polite, like we'd never been on opposite sides of a war. "Hi, Mr. Wilson," she said. "I just wanted to reach out personally and let you know, we'll be reviewing your case internally. We want to restore peace to the community." I laughed. "Peace? You people trashed my yard and stalked my dog." "That wasn't the HOA," she said quickly. "That was individuals acting outside their authority." "Then why are they still living here?" I snapped. Silence. Then a quiet sigh. "I'm trying to clean up the mess," she said. "But you're not making it easy by feeding the media. Maybe if you didn't treat your neighbors like criminals." She cut me off. "Mike, you're not as innocent as you think." The line went dead. That night, I felt it again. That electric tension in the air. Around midnight, Max started barking like crazy. I ran to the window. Someone had spray-painted my driveway, big red letters. "Traitor." I grabbed my phone, recording again. Then I saw a figure running off, hoodie, jeans, tall build. Didn't recognize him. But I noticed something glinting under the streetlight. A key fob. He dropped it. I picked it up. Black plastic, no label. But on the back, a small silver logo. The HOA office emblem. The next morning, I took it straight to Officer Barnes. He looked at it and said, "We'll check if it matches any registered vehicles or buildings." Good catch. But then he leaned in and lowered his voice. "Mike, someone filed a complaint against you." "What?" "Anonymous source. Says you've been harassing board members, trespassing, and falsifying evidence." I blinked. "You're kidding." "I wish I was," he said. "They attached screenshots of your footage, edited versions, out of context." I felt my stomach drop. "They're trying to flip the narrative," I said quietly. He nodded. "And they're good at it. Be careful what you post from now on. They're baiting you." I drove home shaking. Every neighbor I passed looked either curious or cautious. Some smiled. Others avoided eye contact. When I pulled into my driveway, there was a note taped to my mailbox. "You wanted attention. Now you've got it." No name. No handwriting I recognized. Max sniffed the paper and whimpered. Even he knew something wasn't right. That evening, James came over again. He looked nervous. "Mike, we've got a problem." He opened his laptop. Showed me an HOA email leak posted anonymously on Reddit. Someone uploaded our entire file, our names, addresses, private footage, even parts of our emails exposing them. They'd flipped the script completely. The caption said, "Local man fabricates harassment story for clout." Thousands of angry comments. Half believed me. Half thought I made everything up. They were rewriting the truth, in real time. I slammed my hands on the table. "They want me to lose it," I said. "They want me to snap so they can call me unstable." James nodded. "So what do we do?" I took a breath and smiled slowly. "We set another trap." For 2 nights, I left my porch light off. Made it look like I was gone. But I wasn't. I was inside, cameras rolling, all hidden. I even left the side gate unlocked, like an invitation. And sure enough, on the 3rd night, someone took it. A figure slipped through the gate, flashlight in hand, checking my windows, peeking inside. This time, I waited until they reached the door before stepping out. "Looking for something," I said. The flashlight swung toward me. It was Amanda. She froze, face pale in the moonlight. "Mike, I was just what?" "Checking on community peace." She stammered. "I got a complaint about loud noises." I raised my phone. "Funny, because the only noise I hear is you lying." She turned to leave. I blocked the path. "You recorded us," she hissed. "You think you're untouchable?" I smiled. "No, just prepared." She left fast, but not before whispering something under her breath. "You have no idea what you've started." The next day, a police cruiser parked outside my house for the first time. Officer Barnes called. They'd found Amanda's fingerprints on the key fob. That was enough to issue a subpoena for HOA documents. The investigation was now official. For a few hours, it felt like relief. The storm was breaking. But that evening, as I stood on the porch watching the sun dip behind the houses, a car rolled slowly past. Windows down. No plates. A woman's voice called out softly, "Nice dog, Mike." Then laughter. Then gone. I didn't sleep at all that night, because I finally realized this wasn't about my dog anymore, or even the HOA. It was about control, about making me afraid to fight back. And they almost succeeded. Almost. If someone tried to turn the story against you, would you go silent or double down and keep fighting for the truth? Comment below, backhand index pointing down. By sunrise, I already knew. This day was going to change everything. The neighborhood looked calm. Kids waiting for the school bus. Sprinklers ticking across green lawns. Like nothing had happened. But I could feel it. The air was heavy. Like the quiet before a thunderstorm. Max sat by the window, tail flicking, ears up. Even he knew today wasn't normal. At 9 a.m., a convoy of cars rolled into the neighborhood. 2 black SUVs, 1 police cruiser, and a silver sedan I didn't recognize. Officer Barnes stepped out first, followed by 2 detectives in suits. Then Amanda, handcuffed, eyes cold but calm. Neighbors started peeking through curtains. Phones out. Whispers spreading faster than wildfire. One of the detectives nodded at me. "Mr. Wilson," he said, "we'll need you to come with us for questioning. You're not in trouble, we just need your side." I nodded. Grabbed my phone. Max barked once, like he was telling me, "Don't trust them too much." At the station, Barnes handed me a coffee and leaned back in his chair. "You really kicked the hornet's nest," he said. "But turns out, there's a lot more inside it than we thought." He turned his screen toward me. Dozens of bank statements, scanned documents, and emails. "Caroline Briggs," he said, tapping the screen. "She wasn't just running your HOA. She was funneling funds from multiple associations through dummy maintenance companies." I blinked. "What?" "Yeah. Fake repair invoices, fake landscaping contracts, all signed off by board members, including Amanda." I leaned forward. "So, this was about money?" "Partly," he said. "But it gets darker." He pulled up another file. "See this address? It's listed as a security partner for the HOA. Guess who owns it?" He paused. "Caroline's husband. Ex-law enforcement." I sat back, stunned. All those warnings, those messages, those nights of fear. They weren't random. They were controlled intimidation. A way to scare homeowners into silence. To make sure nobody questioned the HOA's fake expenses. And I was the unlucky guy who found their weakest link. Barnes sighed. "They tried to take your dog as a distraction. Dogs are technically violations in a community like yours. Easy way to start a conflict, then bury it under paperwork. But when you recorded them, you became a liability." "So they tried to shut me up," I said. "Exactly." He looked at me for a long second. "Honestly, if you hadn't filmed everything, we wouldn't have found any of this." That night, I got home to find half the neighborhood waiting for me. People clapping, cheering, even bringing cookies and flowers. It was surreal. James grinned. "Dude, you're a local hero now." I laughed. "Yeah, well, I'd rather just be left alone." He nodded. "Trust me, after this, no one's gonna mess with you again." But then he added quietly, "Except maybe the ones we haven't found yet." 2 days later, Caroline finally resurfaced. A news crew caught her outside a courthouse, surrounded by reporters. Her hair perfect, her smile sharp as ever. "I have no comment on the ongoing investigation," she said. "But I can assure you, these accusations are the result of personal vendettas by a small group of disgruntled homeowners." Then she looked directly at the camera. And said my name. I felt the blood rush to my face when I saw it live on TV. She wasn't going down quietly. That night, I couldn't stop pacing. The investigation was going great, sure. But something about Caroline's confidence bothered me. Why wasn't she afraid? Why act like she still had power? Then I remembered. The one folder James and I couldn't access in the HOA drive. The one labeled, Archive, Internal. We'd skipped it because it required a secondary login token. But what if that was where the real evidence was? I called James. Told him to meet me at his place. We booted up the laptop again. This time, we didn't guess the password. We used the key fob I'd found near my driveway. Turns out, it wasn't a car fob at all. It was a security token. And when we connected it to the laptop, boom, access granted. Inside were dozens of hidden files. Photos, recordings, and, unbelievably, audio logs. The HOA had been recording homeowners without consent. Every complaint meeting, every phone call, even private conversations captured from security mics around the office. One file was titled, Wilson Case, Audio. I clicked it. Caroline's voice came through, calm and smug. Make him paranoid. Cut his cameras. Then file the complaint. Once he cracks, we'll label him unstable and foreclose under nuisance statute. My stomach turned. This wasn't just harassment. This was premeditated psychological warfare. And they'd done it before. Other files mentioned names of people who'd moved away. Families who, couldn't handle the stress. One woman even lost her home after her dog was impounded. It all made sense now. We copied everything. Then we went public again. The next morning, every major news outlet had it. HOA corruption scandal. Secret recordings expose extortion ring. Within 48 hours, arrests were made. Caroline, her husband, and 3 other board members. Amanda turned state witness. Testified that Caroline ordered every intimidation act personally. That night, I finally exhaled. Sat on my porch with Max under the stars. The air felt clean for the first time in months. James walked over, 2 beers in hand. "To the man who took down an HOA," he said. I laughed. "To the dog who started it." We clinked bottles. Max wagged his tail like he understood every word. A few weeks later, I got a letter, not from the HOA, but from the city. They'd officially dissolved the Lakeside Estates Homeowners Association and returned management to the residents. We'd voted. And guess what? No new HOA ever again. I still get messages sometimes. People thanking me for standing up. Others sharing their own HOA horror stories. It's weird how one act of defiance, recording a trespass, turned into something bigger. Not just revenge. Not even justice. But proof that sometimes the smallest resistance can expose the biggest lies. I looked over at Max. He was lying on the porch, belly up, chasing a fly with his paw. I smiled. "You know, buddy, they tried to take you away." He wagged his tail. "But turns out, you saved me instead." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the houses gold one last time, I saw a few of my neighbors laughing, talking freely. No fines. No threats. No fear. And for the first time since moving here, this place actually felt like home. If you found out your HOA was secretly recording homeowners and manipulating rules for money, would you expose them like I did, or would you pack up and leave? Tell me below, backhand index pointing down.